Sunday and we are all here in Pune. It takes a lot of effort to come out of your beds on a relaxing Sunday and attend something which is all about literature. Everyone here seated today, as Mr. Iyer said, will go back with something to your mind, a feed to your mind, to your heart, to your soul. Thank you for joining us. Well, moving ahead, as we have Mr. Harsh Pamnani. I believe I can address you as Harsh. That will be better. Great. So as Pooja already mentioned about his story, he's more of a storyteller, someone who is portraying complex marketing concepts into very simple languages, using art, using talent, and using a lot of storytelling aspects to bring out his books. So, as we are talking here about Booming Brands Volume 2, you already have Volume 1 out, and I think Volume 3 is coming out?
No, Volume 3 is also out there.
Absolutely. Great. So, Harsh, if we really talk about the inspirational factor, that why are you so interested towards focusing on the marketing aspects of brand? What makes you write about them? What is the inspiration behind it?
Sure, Devika, thanks for asking this question. So, since childhood, I have been curious to know how come few entrepreneurs are able to create great, admirable brands while many struggle to survive. To satisfy my curiosity, I read a lot of books and case studies on brand building, but I found two problems with that literature. The first one was a lot of literature that I referred covered American brands. Now, India is not America. The way brands were built in developed markets like America can't be built in developing and highly diverse markets like India. The second problem I noticed that although some literature covered Indian brands, but they covered Indian brands which have been built over the decades and talked about the strategies of pre-liberalization and pre-digital era. Now, today's India is very different. Consumers are different, marketing channels are different, competition is different. So how come the strategies that worked in the pre-liberalization era and the pre-digital era will work today? So I found this gap and I wanted to fill this gap. But over a period of time, I also realized that the topic which is close to my heart is also a need in the market. I had met many professors, students, entrepreneurs, marketers who expressed their desire to know about the journeys of new age made in India brands. So I thought I have passion about this topic. There is a need in the market. So why not to fill the gap? And that's the way I started the journey of writing Booming Brands. I started this journey in 2017. The first book was out in 2018. And by God's grace, till now, 3 volumes are out.
So as you really mentioned that the techniques or the aspects of marketing which are really used, they are international and you had to focus on the Indian side of the market. What is the difference you're finding? And do you think that the traditional marketing aspects or rules are still followed?
Yeah, traditional marketing aspects are, so the way the brands are built, the concept fundamentals of the brands, that will not change. But the marketing channels have changed a lot. For example, all of you would be hearing a lot about influencer marketing these days because youngsters, millennials, Gen Z audience are spending more time on social media as compared to traditional media. So when audience are moving, their marketing budgets are also moving to the new channels, newer channels. But now there is a lot of crowd of influencers in the market, right? Brands have to understand how to choose the right influencer, how to collaborate with the right kind of person with the right message. All these things require new understanding of the new dynamics. So that's the way I'm trying to fill the gap.
Great. So that brings in a lot of insight about the changing trends and what is up and working for every brand. So in the book, we have also seen that there is a lot of comparisons and differentiations given in terms of how are the brands really operating, especially the startups and the entrepreneurs, the latest ones in the market. What are the key factors you have observed and what do you think are the main differentiation points or comparison points in between the brands?
Sure. I will explain this point with taking examples of some of the renowned startups which I have covered in my book, like Policy Bazaar, Book My Show, Shadi.com, and others. So although all these brands look like internet brands, digital brands available in the form of app on your mobile phone, they are very different in terms of their business models, sector, consumer behavior. Let me give you an example. Both Book My Show and Policy Bazaar are broadly online brands. But Book My Show is about entertainment and Policy Bazaar is about insurance. When people think about entertainment, they get feeling of happiness. When people think about insurance, they get imagination of death, disease, hospitalization, things which are associated with sadness. When people consume entertainment content, they feel happy. They love consuming entertainment content. But insurance content is little boring. So people don't read it so enthusiastically. The kind of information that Book My Show captures about the consumers is very different from the kind of information that Policy Bazaar captures about the consumers. The frequency of purchase of entertainment tickets is very different from the frequency of purchase of insurance policies. So the branding strategies of both these brands are very different. If I talk about another example, which I covered in my book, which is Big Basket. So Big Basket is an e-commerce company that sells grocery. But when I researched on the brand, I found that grocery e-commerce is very different from fashion e-commerce and electronics e-commerce, like mobile phone. Why? Grocery is a need, whereas mobile purchase, fashion purchase are wants. So if the grocery doesn't come on time, we get impatient because we cannot make tea and cook food. But if t-shirt comes a day late or mobile phone comes 2 days late, we can manage, right? Now, another difference is that the supply chain of grocery is very complex as compared to the supply chain of fashion and mobile. Why? Because there are three kinds of grocery. Dry grocery, like your washing powder, fresh grocery, like vegetables, and frozen grocery, like ice cream. So the way these complex supply chains are managed, the margin on grocery is very low as compared to mobile and fashion. So the business becomes very different. The dynamics become very different. The frequency of purchase in case of grocery is at least 36 times a year. Whereas fashion is purchased, let's say, once in a quarter, and mobile is purchased once in a year. The basket of groceries contains 25 to 30 items. So the dynamics of businesses are very different. So when I cover these brands, I understand how their business models differ, how sectors differ, and accordingly how metrics differ and the marketing strategies differ. And that's what I'll bring out.
I guess in your volume 2 book for the booming brands, you've also covered about epigamia. Epigamia is a Greek yogurt. In India, probably we only know what is called curd, dahi. Simple, ghar ka dahi, yeah, any of the Indian brands. How tough was it for this brand, and what is your point of view on epigamia entering into Indian market?
Sure. Very interesting story, because 7-8 years back, there was no category as such, Greek yogurt as such in India. And Epigamia has done a wonderful job of creating this new category and then becoming the market leader in that category. So the first and foremost, the concept of branding come into picture is that they identified a new category. Because this market of dairy products is filled with giants like Amul, Nestle, Mother Dairy. They have a lot of resources, distribution, famous products in curd and other dairy products. Indian market was as such not ready for Greek yogurt. So the first and foremost, they identified a new category where the competition was not there from Amul and other giants. Then they educated Indian market about the category of Greek yogurt. And in terms of this education also, they applied the right channels to reach out to people. For instance, they made sure that the segmentation is very unique in their case. For example, they targeted millennials who have high disposable income and are living in the urban towns, have interest in the health trends, and are looking for both healthy and tasty snacks. Now, these kind of people who are working in offices definitely face hunger between 4 to 6. Now, most of the options which are available between 4 to 6 in office canteen are all junk food items, from vada pav to sandwiches. The people need something to give them energy. And Epigamia targeted these audience, this office going crowd initially as a segment which was available between 4 to 6, was looking for satisfying their small hunger and was looking for an healthy and tasty option. So their messaging was to the point. They targeted this audience. When people liked the product, they started consuming the product again when they started going to marathon, yoga camps, even during their travel in airports and all. And that's the way this audience started purchasing product repeatedly. And then they started educating market about using this kind of Greek yogurt as a substitute for ice creams, because now parents are also looking for sugar-free products and preservative-free products for their kids. So Greek yogurt started acting as a substitute, and they marketed on the protein factor which is present in Greek yogurt, which is better than curd. And by educating the market, by choosing the right segment, by creating a new category, they were able to conquer the market.
Great. So as we see in the book that the segments of industry which you have covered are multiple. They are not from single industry. Like if we talk about FMCG, you have also covered fashion, you have covered internet or online e-commerce marketing and all of that. So one thing which you find a common thread in all of these entrepreneurial brands, what is it?
So one common thread which I find in all the brands is that they are trying to solve a problem and they are trying to organize an unorganized market. So when I say they're trying to solve a problem, let's take example of Book My Show. It's not like that entertainment tickets were not available before Book My Show came into existence. But there used to be a huge queue for buying movie tickets, right? Or any other entertainment ticket. There used to be a black marketing for tickets. And then sometimes people used to go and they used to see houseful board and they used to come back. Now, Book My Show solved this problem by bringing in the transparency, visibility to the ticket so that people get the convenience. When Policy Bazaar came into business, it was not like that the insurance policies didn't used to get sell. They were insurance agents. There are insurance agents. But Policy Bazaar organized the information, compared the policy, provided information in a way that even a layman can understand, and created a new market for themselves by solving a problem. So that's the way I found the commonality in all the brands.
So we have this book available outside on the book counter. If you really see, it's not having a very serious book cover. I'm not saying that the other respected authors have a very serious cover or something. It's very interesting. It's all caricatures. Is the inspiration your daughter for this? Why I ask this question, there is a habit of reading which is losing in our kind of generation, where we are constantly running on things, don't have time even to eat a single meal very well. Do you think bringing reading back into habit with such a colorful cover, interesting cover, maybe like your daughter can pick up that book and say, Papa, this is very cute or very, very beautiful, very interesting?
Yeah, in a way you can say that I have seen my daughter's interest in cartoons, and whenever I see that she enjoying these colorful cartoons, I also start enjoying them. So we all have inclination towards colors, caricatures, cartoons, because we all have seen them, experienced them during our childhood. So definitely that is one of the reasons. But second reason, I used caricatures instead of photographs or so, because I found that the market is filled with lot of marketing and branding books. And if I have to stand out in the market, I have to do something different. And I also found that when I'm trying to differentiate my book through easiness of the stories and want to make it more attractive for the younger audience, I felt that these caricatures will make them stand out and will make the book attractive. And that was the reason.
So probably that's the USP of your book. If we really go by the cover, as we say, that one can pick up a book just by seeing the cover also, and then get into the insights of it.
Yeah,
definitely. So anything, what is next happening, Harsh? I mean, we already have the 3 volumes of booming brands. What is coming up next? I think Mr. Iyer has already mentioned about something. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so Prakash sir has been kind to mention about my 3rd book, Booming Digital Stars. So I basically cover new brands and new brand building strategies. Now, I covered new age brands and booming brands and found that most of the new age brands are using influencer marketing as a channel to reach out to target audience. I also realized that many youngsters are planning to become YouTubers and social media influencers the way they aspire to become doctors and engineers. So I felt that this is a topic that could be covered. So I wrote India's first book on creator economy, in which I covered the journeys of India's leading social media influencers, how they became powerful personal brands from common people, how they choose brands, how they impact the sales and growth of brands. All those topics I covered in Booming Digital Stars.
Great. Thank you for all those insights, Harsh. Anyone would like to ask any question to Harsh? He's available right here. Any marketing suggestions, anything if anyone would like to ask?
Harsh,
Sir.
you write about only successful people. Why don't you write about businesses? An idea for you for businesses that did well and then didn't do well. And I'm not talking of a Kingfisher airline, but I'm talking in the startup domain, because you have spotted lots of things ahead. I mean, creator economy is big, but still, there's no book on, creators in that sense. So why don't you write on, things that you could learn from, what not to do when you do a startup or something like that?
A checklist kind of a thing which is elaborated.
Right. No, so I definitely cover every person who has become successful has also many failures during the journey. So whenever I'm writing these success stories, I'm also elaborating on their failures. For instance, we talked about the brand Epigamia, proudly the market leader in Greek yogurt, but they couldn't succeed in the ice cream business. Many of you would have heard the brand name Hokey Pokey. They used to sell ice creams, but they couldn't succeed in that because the ice cream has a different supply chain, different shelf life, and the retailers don't keep new brands the way they keep the established brand. Also, Epigamia tried opening up their own stores, but ice cream consumption doesn't happen for the whole year. Especially, it doesn't happen during the rainy season and during winters. So most of the time they were paying rent, but they didn't have customer. So they couldn't succeed in that business, and that's why they pivoted and entered into Greek yogurt. Now this is the failure I have covered in the book. Similarly, there is a popular brand which I have covered in the book, ShareChat, which is India's largest social network for non-English speaking audience. Now, ShareChat was the 16th successful product of the founders. Before that, they created 15 products that didn't succeed. And today, ShareChat is a $5 billion unicorn, which has investments from Twitter and Snapchat and many other social media brands. Why ShareChat has succeeded in India when such big brands of social networks exist? Because their products were created keeping English-speaking audience in mind. But ShareChat has not focused on 10% of India that speaks or that is comfortable with English. They have focused on 90% of India that is not comfortable with English, is coming on internet through smartphone and not through the desktops the way we came, has a very different consumer behavior. So they have their own failures, learnings, and successes during the journey, which I have elaborated in the book. But I agree with Anurag sir. One day I will write a book, Branding Blunders, in which I cover the blunders made by popular brands.
Will Rahul Gandhi be in it?
Sorry?
One last thing I wanted to ask you. We were discussing about the first cry model, the way they are really into the market. Could you please tell us that?
Right. So I have covered many interesting marketing strategies from the brands which I covered in the book. And one of the strategies that I liked very much is from the First Cry. So First Cry, everybody know that it's an online brand. Definitely they do social media marketing. They have been popular on TV through Amitabh Bachchan. But many people might not know about one of their marketing models, which has almost zero customer acquisition cost and very high conversion rate. So First Cry basically segmented the market, realized that the consumer journey starts when a woman becomes the mother where women becomes the mother at maternity hospital. So they tied up with 10,000 plus maternity hospitals, segmented them on the basis of delivery charges. So for example, the person who can afford the 1 lakh plus rupees delivery charge might be driving Mercedes and might have a different preference for brands as compared to person going for delivery charge of 25,000 rupees. So that's the way they segmented the hospital. Then they convinced the hospital to allow them to distribute free gift boxes when mother is celebrating the happiest moment of her life. These gift boxes are given by nurse within the 2 days of delivery of the baby and contain all the essential items that mother needs when the baby is born. In return, parents fill and give the feedback form to first cry team. Now this feedback form contains the contact details of the parent, date of birth of the baby. Because of this data coming from multiple hospitals, First Cry is able to create India's largest segmented database of parents along with the date of birth of baby. Now, many of you would be thinking, how come a startup is able to afford to give boxes in so many hospitals, millions of boxes? The interesting thing that they do, they tie up with baby product brands, which do sampling every year. So brands give them the samples and the sample distribution cost, because of which the model becomes almost free for First Cry. Because parents are getting something valuable at the right time when no other market, no other brand is interfering with their attention, and the emotional connect established with the First Cry and the brands in the box is very different as compared to unknown brands at that time. Because they give the data to First Cry is able to send them right communication at the right time. Not salesy messages, but tell parents what they need when their baby is going to be 5 weeks young, when the baby is going to be 2 months young, what exactly they would need. Because these segmented mailers go at the right time, the conversion rate is very high, and that's one of the models which I have covered in the book.
That one was very interesting in terms of how they are really segregating and targeted consumers, because a lot of times happens that we get a lot of mailers of all the brands, which is not really required at that point of time. So that becomes a little setback for those brands. Like I don't really appreciate personally, but it's good to know that First Cry is doing that particular initiative and they're taking that much into in-depth detailing for that matter in their segment. Thank you, Harsh, for sharing all your insights about the book. The book is right outside on the book counter. Harsh is available around you for signing the copies for the book. Thank you, everyone, for patiently listening to us and the questions, sir. We will be breaking for lunch now, and we'll get back soon. Thank you so much.